Are you raising your grandchildren? And is it really hard? If so, this video is for you. I'm Dr. Nate Noble, and I'd like to welcome you to the channel, where I endeavor to give you 20 years of medical experience for 5 minutes or less of your time. In this video, I want to cover some of the most common struggles that individuals who are raising their grandchildren are having, and some words of encouragement. In the United States, there are 3 million children who are currently being raised by their grandparents. In our clinic visits, we talk about all kinds of things that you likely might be struggling with as well. Things like behavioral difficulties in their grandkids. Maybe your grandchildren have been exposed to drugs or alcohol. Maybe they grew up in a home where when they cried, nobody came. Oftentimes, when people are really honest and the door to the clinic is closed and there's nobody there to judge them, it's not uncommon for individuals to share with me that this is not what they expected. This is not what they thought their retirement would be like. They thought it'd be a little bit more picking up seashells and driving around in an RV, but it's not. It's angry phone calls from the school, and it's seclusion rooms, and it's medications, and it's school refusal, and insomnia. And it's not uncommon for them to believe that if they were just younger or healthier or more equipped or smarter or more consistent, that somehow things would be better or different. And that's when I always lean forward across the exam room table, look them in the eye, and tell them about Beethoven. Everybody's heard of Beethoven, and everybody can easily list Beethoven's most famous work. What is it? What is it? It's the Ninth Symphony. But the last time I checked, in order to get to the Ninth Symphony, you have to write a bunch of other symphonies first. In his mid-40s, Beethoven lost his hearing completely, unable to hear the music that he was composing. And then, when Beethoven is 53 years old, he's deaf. He takes the legs off of his piano so that they can lay the piano on the floor of his studio apartment so that he can pound out the keys and feel the vibrations through the floorboards and pluck out a melody, a song, a composition that comes from a deep, deep place. We have a man who's 53 years old. He dies at 56. He's at the end of his life. He's lost his ability to hear, and we find him on the floor, hammering at the keys, just hoping that the vibrations can affirm what he knows is inside of him. And then on May 7th, 1824, the 53-year-old deaf composer, who was too old for the job, who lost the skills and abilities that were absolutely necessary for a composer to make a work that truly mattered, debuts his Ninth Symphony in Vienna. And not only was this his greatest work, but it was also his most expansive. He had the largest orchestra of any of his previous works, and he added vocals. He added 2 singers to the composition, which was very unusual for the time. And as the music was being played, the deaf 53-year-old has-been, unequipped, forgotten, left over, left out, and left behind composer stands next to the conductor. And Beethoven proceeds to flail and conduct the orchestra next to the actual conductor. And he flails because he can feel the music, but he can't hear the music. And the audience's mind is blown by what they've heard. So much so that there are multiple standing ovations. And when the music ends, Beethoven doesn't know because he's off on the beat because he can't hear it. And so the composer of the orchestra comes over to Beethoven and turns him around so that he can see all the people who've been impacted by the music that was inside of a has-been. How many of you know that even though you're in a situation where you're raising your grandkids and you feel completely overwhelmed, and you look at the skills that are necessary to be successful, and you do the math in your head and you realize that you don't have those skills. You do not have those skills. You've lost your ability to hear, and you find yourself on the floor plucking at that piano as best you can. But I promise you, there will be a day, no matter how off you are on the beat, no matter how unable you are to follow along with the music of the orchestra, there will come a day When someone will turn you away from the music that you're trying to produce so that you can see its result. And in that moment, I promise you, in spite of all your imperfections and all the ways you feel ill-equipped to move forward in the difficult job of raising a child with a developmental disability or difficulty or behavioral problem, I promise you, you will see in this life or the next a standing ovation. Thanks for watching.